I want to key in on two key moments in an M&A deal that I wish I had known this prior to my last transaction. It just would have helped us to understand how things flow a bit better. Two key deal moments. And so one is the moment of greatest strength is what I'm going to call it. So the moment of greatest strength. When is the moment of greatest strength? Again, looking at it from the seller's perspective. So when is the moment of greatest strength from the seller's perspective? That's on LOI day. Essentially, when the buyer or buyers are trying to present you with letters of intent to actually get you to sign, to enter exclusive due diligence with them to sell your company, that's when you have the most strength, because that's them trying to get you to agree to their due diligence process and to lock you in to that due diligence process. So this equals, I'll just call it LOI day. And so this is when you've got to max out your negotiations. Whatever you want, you need to get it coming into LOI day and getting it, on that paper that your valuation is going to be X, and that potentially if salaries of key players matter enough as part of the deal, that's spoken to, and other kinds of wants and asks, addressing them at that time is sort of really important, because there's a moment of greatest strength and there's a moment of greatest weakness. So if I put that up here, when is the moment of greatest weakness? Well, if LOI day is the moment of greatest strength, the moment of greatest weakness, I would say, is due diligence. So due diligence ending. The last day, or maybe the last 2 days, but the end of due diligence. And by the way, this works out almost exactly the same if any of you have ever sold a house. It's very, very similar. The reason why is that the buyer, whether real estate or whether a business, they'll typically enter due diligence with you, and quite often it's exclusive. You're under contract, right, to sell your company, to sell your house. You're under contract, and they have X number of days to do due diligence. And at the end of that period, they have to either commit and go all in that they are going to buy your company or your house, or they can walk. And so that last day of due diligence, they've had you locked up, they're inspecting everything. Now, on that last day, that's when they hit you with all of the asks. So they will say that, your revenue in the last quarter, we did a quality of earnings analysis and your revenue and your earnings weren't as expected. Or we looked at the quality of your enterprise deals and we don't like how long the contracts remaining terms are. Or, all sorts of other complaints like this they'll bring up. We audited your technology and we think that there's substantial tech debt that we'll have to assume the cost on that. Or, and on and on. And the analogy to real estate is, it's exact, because if you've ever sold a house, you'll know that, we feel like the carpets need to be replaced across the house. And, so we need you to come up with, $10,000 to do that. Or, we found like these issues with the roof and the HVAC and this and that and the other. And quite often, all of that will be held to the very end. Why do they do that? Because that's their moment of maximum strength. You're feeling like, holy crap, I went through this whole process and I got to the end and now they're repricing the deal on me, but I just got to get across the finish line. So they're trying to tap into your weakness at that moment because you've sunk a lot of effort now in, particularly due diligence for selling a company. You may have spent a month and a half really putting a lot of effort in, sometimes 2 months, doing a ton of work to get all their due diligence requests answered, all that due diligence answered, and now they're like repricing the deal and saying like, oh yeah, we're chopping 30 million, we're chopping 50 million, whatever the number is. And so this is where you have to stand your ground. You're at your moment of greatest weakness. Think about one other thing. The bankers on the buyer's side, or the M&A team on the buyer's side, right? And that could even just be the CEO, whoever it is. Their job is to get the lowest price possible. The only way they can really tell if it's the lowest price possible is to reduce the offer and see if you walk or not. And frankly, If you just accept what they say, then why not lower the price further? There has to be some point at which you are willing to stand up and say no and walk. And if not, the price may keep falling. So that's the key risk. You've got this greatest strength moment. You sign this awesome LOI. Then you got this moment of greatest weakness. And I'll leave you with this. You must be ready to walk. If you're not ready to walk, then in a high-stakes M&A transaction, their job is to test you and push you until you're ready to walk. And if you're not ready to walk until the price is cut 50%, well, a good M&A party, or a team from the buyer's side, they will cut the price 50%. They will extract all that value from you. And I'll say it again, I've said it many times, that if you're profitable, it makes it much easier for you to say, hell no, I'm walking. I'm not taking this deal. This is not what I signed up for. I signed an LOI that was 30% higher than this, or whatever the number is. And so this is, it happens all the time in M&A that buyers, issue new terms at the last minute. Sellers have to be ready to walk, or ready at least to combat that and stand their ground if you want to get the deal that you originally signed up for.